It is Saturday morning, which means it's time to talk about Star Trek and whether or not it's dead. Welcome, everyone, to the Star Trek discussion panel here on the Salty Nerd Podcast. My name is Matthew Kadish, and with me today is our expert panel on all things Trek, starting with Matt Vader 74, who is covering his head in shame because he doesn't want to admit he's a Star Trek fan still.
I'm not. I don't watch the show. I hate this show. Screw you guys.
It's true.
I don't want to watch it anymore. I'm only here out of obligation.
And we also have our resident Trek expert, Salty Trekker, Michael. How you doing, Michael?
I think Vader's full of crap. I actually, I'm probably going to be the only one on the show to admit that I actually didn't hate it.
All right, and rocking the expert stash is Danny, the Dork Knight LV. I think Danny looks fantastic, by the way.
Wow, is this like a 70s porn flick?
Yeah, he looks like he's not allowed. Like he's not allowed near a school.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Are you trying out for like the Reno 911 sequel series or something? What's going on there?
He looks like the type of guy who sends bombs in the mail.
Yes. God, dude. That is pretty epic mustache.
That is an epic mustache. I wish I could grow a mustache like that.
All I did was not shave for like 10 weeks, and then I shaved everything but that mustache off. So
nice.
Right on. Yeah. And new to the panel today is film professor Sean Collette, also known as the Crabapple Critic. Sean has a lot to say about Star Trek because he's a big Star Trek fan, and he wanted to join in. Sean, thank you for joining us this morning.
Hey, good to be here.
And last but certainly not least is Brian from the Popcast. You also do the Popcast Live, which is their live show. Brian, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
I also didn't hate it.
Right on.
There's also parts I didn't like you. To be fair.
All right, so
mixed bag.
First thing on the agenda today before we get going is if you guys go to saltynerdstore.com, we have a special Global Dynamics t-shirt that we are selling in celebration of our coverage of Eureka. And it's a show that's not really talked about all that much. And so like we wanted to kind of like highlight it, talk about how much we love it. And also if you are a fan of the show, try getting our shirt there. And we also have our Buffy the Vampire Slayer t-shirt. Sweet. Which is still available, but that's going to be gone at the end of the month. So if you're a Buffy fan, you really want to go and check that out. In fact, Brian, I just ordered one for Jude last night.
Nice.
Because if she didn't get one of these shirts, she was going to divorce me. So
you could have just asked me for one. I would have made it happen, bro.
You're a hard guy to get in touch with, though.
That's not true. Anyone can text me at any moment. Have you ever had a hard time getting a hold of me, Vader? No.
Nope. Never have.
No, it's not the getting a hold of you part. It's the waiting for you to respond part. At least
No. If you called me, I would pick up the phone immediately.
You should get another T-shirt with just a picture of Dork Knight looking like that right there, and just put "I'm a registered sex offender."
Oh,
yeah, that'd be
just call me Chester, baby.
All right, real quick before we get into Star Trek, I just want to do a few shout outs from the chat. We got Roy Fokker in there. Nick Clark, Anima Confusa, Anima, our trivia queen, Danny's mom, PJO, Thomas Mom. Potts, Broken Birds, Darth Maul, Destiny's Captain. Thank you guys so much for being here this morning. We really appreciate your participation in the chat.
I'm beginning to wonder about your relationship with your mother, Danny, because she doesn't miss a stream you're on ever.
It's not just that. She actually watches. I've got her so into YouTube. Like she'll call me up. Hey, are you on? Like she gets notifications for you guys and for the Minefield.
It's like I'm not even. I don't even tell my mom I'm ever on. I don't even do that.
Oh, dude.
Well, she's legally required to make sure that he's registered wherever he goes.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go shave right now.
No, Danny.
Actually, really, you reminded me of Captain Stottlemyre from Monk. Who did previously play homicidal, transvestite in Silence of the Lambs.
Buffalo Bill, right?
Yeah, Buffalo Bill.
Yeah. No, Danny looks like a cop. That's what he looks like.
That's what he does. He looks like the bad cop.
He looks like a narc.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he just got off the motorcycle and is going to write you a ticket for 4 miles over.
Exactly.
Do you have any idea how fast you were going?
All right, guys. So let's get right to it. Let's talk about the thing that's on everyone's mind: Star Trek Picard, episode 3.
Resistance.
He did it first. We steal from the best here on the Salty Nerd podcast. So just wanted to give credit where credit's due. That's a nerdrotic idea that we lifted.
Is his idea, or did you just steal the picture?
Oh no, I couldn't steal the picture because it had his branding all over it, so I had to go and remake it. But it was his idea to do like the triggered SJW on top of the Borg Queen. So wanted to give him a shout out on that. Now, Matt Vader 74, you said that this episode broke you.
Yeah.
Why don't you fill us in on this?
I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I just felt like they went into everything that I dislike about a lot of these new Star Trek shows. First off, they did kill Eleanor, so that was kind of fun. I enjoyed that part.
Not for long, boys.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back for sure.
He'll be back before they even fix the timeline. Yeah, I got a theory there.
I did not like Raffi's overacting and her immediate disrespect and attacking Picard. It's just more of the kind of same stuff they did.
Very misdirected.
In season 1, it's very misdirected. Settle down, Danny. Settle down.
That's why I raised my hand.
I did not like the just in your face messaging they threw in there. The stupid comments about the global warming stuff and the mountains burning down and
vaccine chips.
The vaccine chips.
Chips.
Jesus. And all the homeless crap. It's like, yeah, we know there's homeless people in LA. There's homeless people here in Vegas. But they
had to mention it because it would have cost so much money to airbrush out the homeless in LA.
Well, the Deep Space Nine episode that this is tying into. I think I
get that, Danny. Yeah. I do. I get that. It was just so unsubtle and so just ridiculous. It was just stupid.
Like, here's your face.
The whole Rios and his adventures in with ice and the ice ages and stuff. It's enough.
Anyone
it's crazy.
Anyone who's ever lived in LA knows that ice doesn't give a shit.
Yeah,
no. They don't do those types of
things.
It's like how many modern issues can they unsubtly just smack us in the face with? It's so it's just cringy, man. I
might be white on the outside, but I'm brown on the inside, Holmes. Ice is real. Come on now.
It's honestly, it felt like they were desperate to figure out what to do with these characters in this episode. Like they didn't know what to do with them. They killed off Eleanor because they're like, how are we going to Spock him out in this episode? We don't know, so we're just going to kill him off for the time being. And then like Raffi and Seven's like tortured lesbian relationship stuff. Like I
told y'all last week, you guys thought that storyline was
very
dropped.
cringy.
Remember, and I said they're going to bring it back.
Well, you know what's funny, Danny and Vader, if you remember when we first started watching season 1 of Picard, the first 2 episodes we were like, okay, let's see where they're going. Then by episode 3, we were like, oh, this is going off the rails, and it's the exact same thing this time around. I want to go to Mike.
Formula they follow.
I want to go to Michael. Michael, what did you think of this episode?
Well, first of all, I think I was expecting this to be the zany antics in the past, but they took it a little more seriously than I was expecting it to.
Yeah.
So so it was not as bad as I was expecting the episode to be. And now I get that, yeah, the ice thing was a bit on the nose with Rios, but Rios, and yes, it's a Hollywood trope that he bangs his head and loses his memory, but that's not a Star Trek thing. That's like everything in Hollywood, a good blow to the head and you lose your memory, which is like.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
Yeah, I that's a little tiring from all things Hollywood, but
well, he didn't lose his memory though, did he?
I didn't think he did.
Well, he
just lost his comm badge.
combat.
Yeah, he kind of got a concussion, and all of a sudden he's like, "Huh, what's going on, man?" And then by the time he gets,
shit, have you not had a concussion, bro? That's how that works. I had a concussion.
Well,
I've had 2 concussions.
Actually, they did do it better than most shows do, but
Yeah.
I'll give them that much. But the I actually even though the ice raid was a little silly, the way that Rios dealt with it, I thought was kind of cool. Rios was actually being kind of heroic in that situation, trying to, trying to get things, help out the doctor, get things.
Yeah, help the old man. He might actually be my favorite character.
Yeah, I actually like the way that Rios dealt with the situation. Unfortunately, he got himself screwed in the situation, but that'll. We'll see where they go with it through the course of the next few episodes. The Borg Queen situation, I actually thought is kind of interesting that it was like, I figured that, when they first were going back in time, I thought it was going to be similar to Star Trek 4, where they take the ship back in time, and now everybody goes on their little team missions. Who's going to find the Watcher? Who's going to, what do they need to do? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't think the ship was going to crash and burn and, oh, crap, what are they going to do? And so the fact that they're like, everything's completely screwed up, and now what are they going to do? And they got to, get the Borg Queen, going again and all that. That was kind of cool. That was not something I expected. And the fact that Raffi was, not Raffi, Dr. Death was smart enough to... was smart enough to actually pull a little bit of information out of the Queen during their brief time together, as opposed to, because that's something you don't think about, is that a collective is a two-way street.
Right.
And so I thought that was actually a clever little bit. While they were connected, she pulled a little information from the Queen. And I actually kind of dug that. And so
I like that line where the Queen was like, You've
done something really dangerous.
You've impressed me.
Yeah, that was that. So there's little bits there that I thought were cool, and so even though this episode was not as good as the first 2 episodes, there was no way this episode could be as good as the first 2 episodes, because they weren't in space. We didn't have ships. We didn't have the cool stuff that we had in the first 2 episodes, and it's not going to be that cool until we're back in the future again. But
we had all that stuff. The first 5 minutes was a big dogfight heading towards the sun.
Well, the first 5 minutes were kind of cool, but the problem is
disintegrations. Like, they just disintegrated all those dudes, man.
Yeah, but unfortunately, until they resolve their issues in the 21st century, I don't think we're gonna see really cool stuff again. Now, as far as the homeless thing that Vader was talking about, look, you can bitch about the homeless being in the forefront, but that's already Trek lore. So unless you want to bitch about Deep Space Nine,
exactly,
you can't ignore what's already Trek lore. They're in the year 2024. That is established as the major problem.
There was such a huge
I'm not bitching
problem
about that. I'm bitching about their hit you over the head with a mallet approach to the way they're telling this story.
But they hit you over the head with the mallet of it, and with the Bell riots and
the
Bell riots, all those internment camps with all the homeless people.
So real quick, guys, I want to get to the other people on the panel to get their impressions real quick. Brian, you're our other Trek expert. What did you think of this episode of Picard?
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with Salty Trekker for the most part. There's a couple things I didn't like. I did like that opening sequence. I liked when the Queen took over. I thought that was really cool. She goes, "Allow me," and I don't know. I do not know why all of a sudden the torpedoes were green. That was weird to me.
Yeah, that was kind of off.
And I don't know why the ships exploded instantaneously. I feel like they were just too easy.
The quantum torpedoes or some shit. I don't know.
Here's the deal. I know that they had to get through that portion really quick to get to the story, and I get that, but it was just too easy, and the torpedoes are green, and we just need a little more dialogue there to sort of explain that. But that might be nitpicking.
Did the Queen assimilate the torpedoes and phase
Maybe.
them through the shields?
Apparently. I think that while I understand Raffi's anger, I do believe that it was extremely misdirected. And if she was 22 going through what she went through, losing her friend, I would get that. But she's much older, much more mature, been in Starfleet for decades. She's trusted and been mentored by Picard for decades.
Is she like a recovering drug addict? And
We don't talk about that anymore.
But
Okay,
she's not
sorry.
But she's not on drugs
It's
right
classified.
now. So what was the purpose of the
Well-
very? And I understand her emotion, but I feel like maybe it was so
What?
overacted that it felt cringy to me. Because it felt cringy. It felt like that her overreaction was at the very best misdirected toward Picard. Which I get it. She has no one else to direct her anger towards. But just stop, just for a microsecond, you can know that this was not Picard's fault. This had to happen this way.
Right.
And she just lashes out at him instantly and then takes off. And I know they had to do it because they got to have some kind of, they got to have her storming off so that problems can happen and there's no plan, so they can get into misadventures on Earth, trying to get, Rios back. And I get it. So she has to blow up on Picard and she's got to run off and transport with no plan, no idea of where the Watcher is, and just take off because she's angry. And that is the catalyst for the misadventures I'm sure they're going to get into. However, I felt like you could have written that differently. You could have written a way for them to get the same misinformation misadventures without having her hormonally go insane at Picard right before hitting the transporter room. That's all I'm saying, because she's not a 22-year-old, right? She's been in Starfleet for a while. She's mature.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that reaction in particular. But Sean, you texted me and said, like, hey, that was a hell of a season finale for Picard because you're not going to be watching it anymore. You want to expand upon that?
Well, all right. So my issues with it primarily, because I didn't go through season 1 the way I think everybody else here did. I stopped at episode 1 of season 1, so I'm coming in fresh. And as I said, the first one was familiar. The second one was familiar, but not quite as good. But fundamentally, just the writing is bad. It's lazy. First issue is they should never have been able to get out of Earth orbit because supposedly it's so secure that and plus it's a confederation, and so they're warlike and everything. One little ship to get out of there, and they didn't get out of there because they were more clever or more resourceful. They got out of there because the pew-pews worked for the good guys and not for the bad guys. Lazy writing. The other thing was Girardi. Well, they've got everybody drawn down. The bad guys have got, phasers aimed at them. Girardi just in the middle of it, making a whole bunch of noise, connecting the Borg. It's like nobody moves when you've got guns drawn on you. Nobody. And you can't get out of that situation. They didn't get out of it by being more clever. They got out of it because the bad guys, and it seems like that in this whole episode, the bad guys all lack the reaction speed of your average human being, which is just lazy writing. It is. It's just they got out of it. The other thing too was if Eleanor, he was shot and it leaves a hole, and everybody else is shot afterward with the same weapons and they're all vaporized. What? It's
a like, special Eleanor setting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Don't kill the elf setting, and that, so it was just lazy the way they got away from them. And then later on it happens too, where Raffi has got it. First of all, broad daylight, some homeless guy comes up, and he is a very clean looking homeless guy,
and he's got a wallet with money in it,
right, with a Glock, aims it right.
Was that supposed? I just thought that was a thug, like a mugger. He was supposed to be homeless. He sure.
She's in the middle of the homeless camp.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean he's homeless. It just means
it's just the idea that, first of all, in broad daylight, out in the open, and she's able to just subdue him like that because everybody does that when they have a gun pointed at their face. You know, it's,
Stupid
you know,
white guy with a gun.
Exactly, and that was the. And then
Oh yeah, me chico.
what was really bad too, though, was when Raffi and Seven are approached by the security guard up there in the high tower and everything like that. They use feminine wiles, and the guy's just like, oh, you go.
I'm way funner than Jeff.
Yeah.
What the, dude? Really? You know, it was so bad. But then, of course, Rios, he can't get out of his situation. He's not competent enough. So Ice comes in and takes, and it's like, come on, guys. I mean, it's just.
Well, to be honest, it did annoy me that he wouldn't grab his stupid comm badge. Just grab your comm badge.
Just
dude.
grab it. Yes, exactly. And that's what you would have done. But they had to keep him in the situation longer because I have a feeling that they're going to come up with some contrived way to make the woman doctor like some type of love interest or one of the heroes or something like that they're being brought into the inner Star Trek circle or something. It's just, it was not clever
Some
writing.
Terminator shit. Maybe he's his own great grandfather.
Could be
the
yeah, there you go.
grandfather
I mean,
paradox.
You know, at this point, anything's possible, but it's all just lazy writing, and it's convenient for the stars of the show. It's in order to get them into drama situations, you have to create it to where the only ones that are competent at doing anything that they want to do are the heroes. The bad guys all came out of an Austin Powers movie. So, you know, that's kind of what it is. And, you know, it's
Yeah,
very
baby.
writing. It's the same writers though. We shouldn't expect it anymore.
All right. So, Danny, what were your thoughts on this episode?
So I'll try to start off a little positive, but I can't. I mean, fuck, dude. Q
Let
was
it
in
flow,
the,
man.
Q was in the recap of the previous episode more than he was in this episode. And like I wanted more Q. Like I really wanted more Q. 1, 2, to like a bunch of the other points everybody's made. Like actually a lot of that stuff didn't bother me. What bothered me was just like well, I guess kind of what Sean was saying. It was just freaking lazy, man. Like everything was, you know, I wanted to like this. Like we all talked about this. We had hope in this episode. Kind of took a big fat shit all over my hope. You know, is how I feel. I mean, I'm going to keep watching it just because I love Q. And I want to see more of Q, but I also feel like maybe we're not going to see as much of Q as I thought we were gonna. So I don't know, man. I'm glad Eleanor's gone, but you know, I'm sure he's coming back.
Why do you hate Eleanor so much?
Really, man? I don't know. We talked about it last.
It's easier to kill Eleanor than have to write him a role in the crazy zany antics of 2024.
Also, he's like a non-character. Like there's really nothing to him. You know.
Like,
well, I mean, he's just like a beheading assassin. Like he like that was like his. Remember, that blew us away. Remember in season 1 when he was like, we first meet him and he's chopping those dudes' heads off, like, and we were like, "What? This is Star Trek."
You know what's funny about Eleanor is like you have a setup where he has the absolute candor, where basically like he just he tells people like it is, and that could be such fertile ground for humor in within the context of the story. And they never capitalize on it. You never cared about the character. In fact, like Picard, who has arguably a much stronger relationship with Eleanor than Raffi does, didn't even shed a tear on his passing.
Yeah, and was basically kind of responsible for
it's like when
his
did
death
when
in a
did
way.
Raffi? Maybe I missed something, but when did Raffi become such a mother figure to Eleanor?
Well, there was a time jump. No, it wasn't. They were kind of implied.
Yeah, it was a time jump.
I mean, she was like. I feel like she was. I felt like she was just way.
Yeah,
way too invested, way overacted.
Yeah, I think they did that to try to
oh my god, I gave birth to this Romulan and now he's dead.
She really did act like it was
just like
she acted like it was her son that was killed.
Yeah, it was trying to give it was cueing the audience's empathy.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't really set up.
So you need to, you know.
They didn't really set up the strong relationship between Raffi and Eleanor as they should have. Like, they implied it, And they kind of gave the impression that Raffi became his mentor and she was the captain of the ship he was serving on and all this other stuff. But they never gave us like that strong of a personal connection to,
they
to
just
justify this reaction at his death.
They just gave us little moments like in the beginning where Picard's giving his commencement speech and they talk about the first Eleanor being the first Romulan, and they exchange glances and stuff. It's like they had like an idea. They just weren't good enough
now
writers
if
to
Raffi had
flesh it
been
out.
secretly boning Eleanor, I could buy it.
Okay, that now you're getting gross. That's
Why is that gross, dude? I mean,
that's an image I don't want to see.
it's no less gross than she boning 7. I mean, come on, that bothers me
Well,
more.
Raffi moaning anybody.
I
is just
disagree.
not
Her
something
boning
I wanna
7 is
see.
amazing. I want to see that. That's not gross at all.
Anyway,
That's angelic.
but now and I do want to
Her.
call out one thing. The professor. I got to disagree with you on one particular thing, and that is just based on my audience when talking to them on YouTube and their reaction to 7 of 9. I would dare say that if 7 of 9 came in and said, "Oh, I want to get in here," half of my audience would be like, "Okay." So I don't have a problem with the security guard.
There's just no way. I just it just felt too, I mean,
I'm sorry.
It was too obvious. I knew where it was going, and I was like,
Right, but you know what?
I've been married
sorry,
for 20
but-
years, and if 7 was like, "Hey, I need to come in your house for something," I'd be like, "I don't even know what it is, but come on in."
Yeah.
yeah.
It's,
I mean,
see-
Jerry Ryan is hot, especially for her age. She's still hot.
Ah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
Well,
gorgeous.
and no denying that, but the fact is that it was a very easy way to jump over just another false.
Yeah,
hurdle
but
that
I
they
mean,
put
how
their way.
many movies and TV shows have had the hot chick use her feminine
Yeah, but-
wiles to get something like that?
How many passes are we going to give one episode for all the lazy tropes they use, though?
Exactly.
I mean,
See, that's the
you know.
thing. They keep using stuff like this, and that didn't bother me nearly as much, though, because I saw it coming. But it's like they're drawn down on. You don't move, and she's able to just take these guys out because they lack some of the slowest reflexes in the animal kingdom, which is humans. I mean, really.
Maybe they got stoned beforehand. Who knows?
So,
Maybe everybody's.
So guys, my opinion on this episode, it's not as harsh as I think half the panel has. I'm kind of with Salty Trekker and Brian on this one, where like I didn't find it egregiously offensive, but like I understand that so far this is the worst episode of season 2 we've gotten.
Yeah,
Easily.
But I was okay with most of like the issues. There were some things that really bothered me about this episode, though. So when Raffi gets held up by the mugger in the homeless encampment, she's like, "Oh, right, money is a thing in the 20th century," and I just flash back to season 1 where she's a class warfare person and she's talking about money all the time. And
right.
she's
about
poor.
Picard
Because
in
she's
his
living in her
chateau.
trailer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know?
And so like I'm like, wow, talk about incongruity. So like that was like a big thing for me. Was just like that little bit of like laziness where like they can't even refer to the season 1 correctly because
Well,
they
that
did
part
pay
is-
money. They did pay money for Rios's ship, right?
Yeah,
They
right. See,
hired
Rios
him.
even commented on how expensive he was.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what though? I love the fact that you do not have to in any way watch Picard season 1 to
Exactly.
enjoy season 3.
We talked
sorry,
about
season
this
2.
last week, so that's what I was going to say. That kind of stuff didn't bother me because I've done a pretty good job of wiping season 1 from my memory.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
it's
you know.
not just Picard season 1. Like there's this long history of Star Trek playing fast and loose with the moneyless society.
Oh, I know,
Um,
right? Yeah.
But
True, true.
another big issue for me in this episode was just how like kind of like useless Picard was. Like there's a scene where like he's like trying to like crouch down next to Eleanor, and you can tell Patrick Stewart like he can barely bend his knees
Right.
because like he's just so old and frail. And so like it feels like in his own show they're trying to think of stuff for him to do to be active in the plot.
That's true.
He's just like too old to be doing it,
That's
especially
why
for,
they're keeping him on the ship. They're keeping him on
especially
the
for a synthetic. Like
Yeah.
a synthetic
Oh,
should not be having these
They
issues.
need to
should've-
Iron Man him, bro. Put him in a
They
mech suit
should've-
and let him just talk.
Remember last season we were all talking about this. They should have just frickin' replaced him with
Yeah.
a younger new
with a
actor.
young,
Because he looks like he's dying on my screen. He's
Every
He is-
every line of dialogue sounds like he's gasping for air.
He does.
breaking my heart. It's killing my memory.
And
of
this isn't
Picard."
ageism on our part, right? Like, this is like a
No.
legitimate criticism of
Yeah.
the main character of the show not being able to
Right.
believably do anything in the show.
Yeah. It's called Picard. You know, it's like Jesus.
Yeah.
And, you know, I
So,
told my brother, I'm like, they should have just called the show 7 of 9 because.
Well, that's why I said
loving that
when they
character.
first announced the show, I said, you know, they should have been doing a Riker show or
Riker,
something
yeah.
like that. You know,
Was that this show we talked about with like wishing there was a Titan series? Was that?
Yeah,
was it?
no,
Yeah,
because-
that would have been dope. Ugh.
because Picard. I mean, look, no disrespect to Patrick Stewart, because I stand by the fact that I think he's the finest actor to grace Star Trek with his presence.
Totally agree.
But the problem is he is just too old, and you know, and it's funny because William Shatner is 10 years older than him, but you'd swear he was 10 years younger than him if you see the two side by side.
So true.
But Patrick Stewart has just not aged well, and
Which is ironic because he lives like such a healthy lifestyle, isn't it? Isn't it weird? It's like
Yeah. Meanwhile, Shatner just posted on Instagram he ate a giant porterhouse while riding a horse.
yeah. I'm surprised he
because
didn't eat
Shatner's
the horse.
fucking
You know,
man, dude.
The guy said, "Time for a good lunch and a good ride," and the guy's like in his 90s eating a 16-ounce porterhouse, red meat all the way.
Oh,
and
yeah.
riding a horse.
That's because Shatner's he oozes machismo. Like, so yesterday was my first stream since one of my childhood heroes, Scott Hall, passed away. R.I.P. Scott Hall. And we were talking about like if the death of Scott Hall hit me as hard as it did, I don't even want to think about Shatner dying. Like, I hope I
Oh,
die
man.
before he does, because it's gonna
that would be
fucking
upsetting for me.
it's
too.
gonna wreck me, dude. Because I was legit like for 2 days, for at least 24 hours, I was a crying snot bubbly mess over the bad guy. So like when Shatner died, who I have shrines to in my house for
Oh
crying
my
out
God.
loud. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
I
not
can't
very many
imagine.
celebrities I would cry for, and I'm not sure if I would cry for him, but Shatner is at the top of my list.
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
people that I would definitely be sad when he goes.
I will definitely
Yeah.
End of an
get a
era.
little choked up over that one. I don't cry for people when they.
You say that now,
Absolutely.
Vader, but when we're holding
I
each
don't.
other crying over Shatner's death,
I
I'll forgive you.
when Leonard Nimoy passed away, it was a rough day, but I didn't cry. But that's just I swallow my.
See, for me,
emotions.
Shatner is.
so
I
I
love
don't do
Leonard
it.
Nimoy, but Shatner is even more.
yeah.
Because it
Like,
wasn't,
Shatner's
not,
the
it wasn't
only-
just Star Trek. There was so much other things that
Yeah.
he did.
Mhm.
I've watched Boston Legal 30 times, dude.
Oh yeah.
Denny
Oh,
Crane
yeah,
all the
yeah.
way.
Denny Crane.
So
Yeah.
you know who
I
I,
mean-
wouldn't shed a tear over if they died is Dr. Girardi. And getting back to this episode.
What a transition.
Yeah, that
getting
was
back
good.
to
That was
this
beautiful.
episode. So like she
so
was
murder doctor. Please
Yeah,
just call her murder
Yeah,
doctor.
So
That is
the murder doctor took a very active role in this episode. And when she's kind of pitching the idea that she wants to be partially assimilated by the Borg Queen to Picard, and Picard's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like she was just so unbelievably insistent about this very dangerous thing that she was proposing that I felt like it came off very inauthentic. And I also felt like Picard eventually acquiescing to her was very out of character because he would not. Well, hold on, Danny. He would not want anyone under his command to go through what he went through, and so like I feel like it would have been more believable if she had just done it and Picard was forced to like then watch over her, as opposed to
Right.
like him giving his blessing and
100%.
watching her do this.
Like,
But they
why
wouldn't have
did
been
he
able
change
to
his
fill the
mind?
script.
Like, I didn't. Or go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
That was filling the script. The whole argument was set there to fill pages. Like the objection, that was all about filling pages. That was just like, we need
It
more
just seemed
time.
like
Let's have a
how did he-
discussion. And, you know,
it felt like he just changed his mind way too easily.
yeah,
You know?
it
You
was
know,
it was
just-
the vehicle to fill pages. That's all
Yeah.
it was.
I don't know. I thought once again, Murder Doctor, who I detested last season.
I think we all did.
Honestly, the worst character to ever, and this includes Michael Burnham, the worst character to ever come to Star Trek. But for somehow,
agree.
for 3 episodes straight, I've actually liked her character, and I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I detested her last season, and this season I hated her in the first episode, but I did like her in the second episode. So
Yeah. I
so
Not
I'll-
bad.
Somebody in the chat earlier said something about a Back to the Future vibe. That's because Marty's mom was the director of this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why there were so many damn lens
Yeah. Leah
flares?
Thompson was the
Because she doesn't know how to put
Oh,
the
that's
lens
right.
cap on. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus!
Yeah. So that said, also, I definitely hate Girardi a lot less than I did last season.
Yeah.
But and I agree that the second episode was that the one with the cat, with the virtual cat, or was that the first episode?
That was the second
That was
episode.
second
Yeah,
episode.
so I like that. That's her best work so
Yeah.
far. This episode,
But
Yeah,
I
this-
still can't get past the fact that she was just torturing and watching Maddox die.
Yeah,
You know.
again, you have to
I-
completely
yeah.
block out season 1 to really
Right.
enjoy season 2.
See,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm coming from that perspective because I didn't stick through season 1, so I'm coming in fresh as though
good.
this was season 1. So
Yeah.
I can forgive a lot of like what they did. I understand they're trying to.
Here's what I did with
They're not
season
doing
1. Like Q. It's
Yeah,
gone.
exactly. So to me, it's gone from my mind. But the fact is
Right.
it's still lazy writing by the same lazy writers, and it's just hitting you over the head with these things, showing just how incompetent the
there's
bad guy.
You got to
Somebody-
admit, Sean,
I
it's
feel-
better.
I feel like there's somebody in the writer room right now that actually kind of is a Star Trek fan and kind of knows what
Bernard
they want to do.
thing.
The showrunner, bro, Terry
the rest,
McAllis,
but the
bro.
rest of the rest of
I think
the
it's Mark
Star,
Bernardin.
but the rest of the writers room just kind of like squashes him and puts a thumb down on him whenever he comes up with something that
Maybe,
is
but
good.
the showrunner
So-
is a die-hard lifelong Trekkie. He literally
Yeah.
got his
But-
cut his teeth on Star Trek.
That's fine.
Yeah, but he's
He
still
needs to do better.
he's still getting his marching orders from Kurtzman. And I will say that Mark Bernardin, who started out in Star Trek as well, he worked on season 2, but he for whatever reason working on season 3. And he had said in a bunch of interviews, because I watch he does a podcast every week, and early on he was talking about how he wanted to help right the ship because he was very critical of season 1 as well. And I feel like he might be that voice of reason in the room, trying to be like, blah 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 blah. And then when he just got fed up, and I wonder if he just left or if they just butted heads so much that's why he didn't come back, because it does feel very much like there's somebody in there trying to advocate for people like us,
Yeah.
but they just half-ass it because Kurtzman's like, that's not really
So
the direction I want to go.
I wanted to propose to you guys something a theory that's been going around on Twitter, which is that now that Girardi has kind of like impressed the Borg Queen, that the Borg Queen that we saw in the first episode with the face mask on is actually Girardi having been assimilated as the Borg Queen after this Borg Queen somehow dies.
That's a possibility.
100%.
What do you guys think about that?
Love that.
100% correct.
I love that.
It's a neat idea, but why she said look up, and I watched this video, this theory about it being actually Picard's mother.
Picard's
Nah,
mom.
that was
that
in
would
the
be too
mask.
much.
That would
That
be
would be too
terrible,
much.
but like that's because
And
they
then-
went out of the way to show the flashback where Picard's mom says to Picard, "Look up, Jean-Luc, look up," and then the Borg Queen in that scene says, look up. She doesn't say it the exact same way, but she said to look
I
up.
still think, I think that's a good possibility. I do think that there's going to be a reveal, obviously, with the mask being pulled back, which I still think would be like, why didn't the Borg Queen just remove the mask in the first place? And that would have resolved the issue in the beginning. But which is another one of those, going back to the Professor lazy writing moments, where if you have someone behind the mask, and if they just removed the mask, it would have resolved everything. Why didn't they just remove the mask?
Right.
Kind
you
of like,
know.
why didn't the cops take Batman's mask off?
And what if it's just not Girardi or his mom?
Yeah. By the way, just a new theory that I just came up with. I'm beginning to believe that Dark Knight is a Marvel Tech de-aged version of Chuck Norris.
What a compliment.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
I'll take it, man. Thanks.
I got a
Damn, I
question
might
about
keep
the
this
Borg
stuff.
tech in this episode, though, because it really bothered me the way that it was said that, if I start losing control, just take out the tubule. And it's never worked that way before. You get injected with nanoprobes like that, and
Right.
you're assimilated. That's it. They don't need to hold on to you.
Well,
And
maybe there
whatever
were no
happened to that?
nanoprobes.
And
involved.
I thought that was just like, wait a minute, since when do you just yank the plug and you go back to normal. Whereas
Right.
that's not a thing, is it?
Well,
No.
they're obviously in this particular case, he had a nanoprobe filter on the tubule, so it's like a little strainer.
There's some head
Yeah.
cannon. I gotta do all this. I gotta
There's
do
a
all this head
cigarette
cannon.
filter on the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jesus.
I mean, it was just, again, it's a way of tackling an issue they don't know anything about and injecting their own little version of it in order to make a plausible.
They may have had an idea there that for whatever reason, either they didn't have time or something to put the dialogue in to really explain it. I know that, in prior iterations of Trek, we probably would have gotten 16 pages of technobabble for it. But it seems like, they could have given something to the effect of why is it that there were no nanoprobes involved would have been a good thing to explain.
Right. Something like where it would have been like maybe if she through some type of an experiment or something like that previous,
Or
maybe she has like
maybe
the
with
Matrix
one
thing in the back of her skull that she can plug in or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Like
with
this
one line
isn't-
of dialogue, they could have chucked it up to the fact there's no more collective and she's by herself or something like that. Like there's a bunch of different
Something.
ways.
Right.
Yeah.
They
you know.
could say, well, since this is a queen, she doesn't have nanoprobes, or they could say
Something.
this is
Federation
a
took
straight
them all
up
out.
digital
Well,
connection, so there's no
or
nanoprobes
they
involved.
could have said that Girardi, in preparing the queen for execution, removed all these safeguards so that this queen is basically operating at, like
Sterilized.
sterilized.
One line of
something like that.
dialogue could have
Yeah,
cleared all
but
this up.
they had to use the dialogue to have her argue with Picard about doing it in the first place, because otherwise they wouldn't. And these people can't squeeze out technobabble to save their life. They've got sonar in space.
So I
How
want to
hard is
ask.
it to
I want to
hire a
ask the
scientist?
panel. I want to ask the panel. Was anyone else disappointed that there was no double dumbass on you throwback in this episode?
That would have been funny.
That would have been funny. but-
Something similar.
Yeah, I thought it was going to happen, to be honest with you, but it never did.
What you're saying?
But that's
were
because
we
they cussed
disappoint-
too much already. So.
Yeah.
Was I disappointed that there wasn't a double dumbass on you reference?
Yes.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It
probably.
wouldn't make any
I
sense
agree.
though, because
Yeah.
the reason it made sense and was funny in Star Trek 4 is because up until that time, all Star Trek, like
No curse words.
except for like, damn it, Jim.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you ever heard.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
was that was what made it the joke, right? Is because
Yeah.
they didn't swear, and then they
Yeah, but,
went
like,
back
I mean-
in 1980, whatever,
Yeah.
and all of a
Yeah.
sudden,
dropped
So
all
yeah,
the
what we're gonna
houses.
get is a double suck my. Fucking, they're gonna.
It's like suck my ankle or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
stupid like that. Yeah.
Now, another thing I was disappointed in is when they went back in time doing the Spock maneuver around the sun. It was not anything like Star Trek 4.
I know, man. I was really bummed about that because they referenced it, so I was kind of expecting the same. I mean,
Were
they didn't
you,
do
were
the
you
same
expecting to
effect
see
with the-
whales and everybody turning
no, but-
white and
Yeah.
Well,
They
something.
updated the effects too much, I think.
They
I agree with you.
yeah, they made it like the tier going in reverse, going up the phase.
I thought it was a cool little effect.
I didn't
Yeah,
have any
but, like,
problem with that. It
if
was
they-
just,
It wasn't-
the way
it wasn't
they
a
did
problem.
was fine, but
It was fine, but like I wanted to see that throwback.
sure.
Especially when they set up that we're gonna do exactly what they did in Star Trek 4, like
Yeah.
and then like it looked
Well,
so
they
different,
they went around the sun. They hit almost warp 10, and then they had a weird psychedelic effect and ended up in the past.
But see,
How do
I think this is an issue in terms of like the kind of like love of the franchise, where like I feel like if people really love Star Trek, they would have put in these references into the show as opposed to going in a more realistic, different direction.
When I see scenes like the one where they're going warp 9.9 around the sun, my Star Trek nerd brain kicks into gear, because if you're going warp 9.9, wouldn't you be like
Out of the soul. Yeah,
out,
you'd be
out
fine.
of the
Yeah, I mean-
completely
Yeah, it
out
would've-
of you'd be halfway to Vulcan.
If
I
you
was
go
thinking
warp
the same thing.
2, if you go
You-
warp
you
2
know,
towards the sun, you're already out of the solar
You're
system.
already out. Of
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't make it made no. It's like the writers and the technical people don't know what Star Trek is, right?
How hard is it to hire like a science
Michael
consultant?
Okuda or somebody. Hey,
Yeah.
Mike, can you come in and explain warp speed to us? It's not that complicated. It just
Well, I mean, maybe they're just doing laps around the sun and we don't see it. I don't know, but you know,
it just was.
Well,
it
they
was
did
just
that in the
weird.
original series. It's like,
Yeah.
we're at warp 8 and we just passed
Yeah.
Mercury heading towards the sun, and it's like, you'd already be way past the.
already
You know, you're-
It's way easier to forgive a show made in the '60s than it is, in the 90s.
I can forgive the Star Trek technical stuff a little bit in some of the older shows because they didn't have that established at that point. But now we have established Trek
I
canon
guess Danny has to
about
take
how
off his
some of
shirt.
this stuff works. And thanks for the $5, Danny. You didn't have to do that. You weird.
It wasn't me. That wasn't for me.
Or Brian.
That was
What
Brian.
you doing? Does that
Brian
mean
wants to
he
see my
talk?
moves.
Brian, you spent $5 so you have the floor. Go ahead and say something.
I
I'm just a sexy.
think you guys are taking the slingshot thing way too seriously.
yeah, I
But
didn't
that's
have
what
any
nerds
problem
do.
with
That's what
Slingshot
nerds
his
do.
moves around the sun, and suddenly.
Look, man,
No,
look,
it wasn't-
I would have. I
it
wish
was
they would have used a better effect, but whatever.
I mean, the effects, and even if they'd done no effect, but the writing was more competent, that would have been, more
The writing
forgivable.
for the slingshot, or are we talking about the whole thing?
No, well, the effect, whatever it is that they used to do it. I mean, they could have done it all internal and not given us anything, but they wanted to give us something visual, so they did, and I didn't have any problem with that necessarily, except for like what Vader was talking about with like you'd already be long gone, but it's
Or
what
like
they
Thomas in chat
with-
says, they turn into salamanders, like in that
Yeah.
episode of
Oh,
Voyager
God.
or whatever.
That would be awesome. You know
You
what'd
know
be
what's
great is that since technically what's implied in Star Trek 4 is that they hit warp 10 and that's what sends you back in time.
right.
So what I think they should do is like gradually start to turn into salamanders while they're cruising around LA.
Yeah, listen, I'm always down to nitpick Star Trek, but you guys always remind me every time we have these discussions. There is so many parts of other awesome Star Trek series that if we were reviewing those episodes, we'd be just as nitpicky.
100%.
Well, there are, Janeway and Tom Paris have a brood of salamanders living in the Delta
Somewhere,
Quadrant right
yeah.
now.
And I would argue one of the most scientifically accurate episodes of all time, and no one sees it, is the Salamander episode.
Really?
Yeah, man. Because
Oh
time
man,
is
you and I are
bro.
gonna fight now.
evolution to the point where they get to the
That's
point where
not how
they have to-
evolution works.
They have to de-evolve, and they I'm obviously messing with you, dude.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
agree with it.
No, it's
I just
the
wanted to-
writing
oh,
that's-
go ahead.
that's
They're
the bad part.
evolving
Where
into a lung that doesn't work.
No, where they're going. I mean, because we could all nitpick, I mean, and that's fine. But the idea is they're not tackling big questions like who we are as a species, and that's what Star Trek was always really great at. Was it asked these questions that only science fiction can ask, that will reveal who we are as humans. And the thing is that they're also not getting through their problems by being clever or resourceful. They're just being it's because everybody else is so incompetent, and that's just lazy writing, and that's what we're going to get more of. And that's why I said, it's the finale.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys about is, a big deal was made about Raffi's dressing down of Picard in this episode. And we already kind of touched on the fact that they didn't really set up Raffi's relationship with Eleanor very well to get this type of reaction, let alone the fact that she used to be Picard's first officer, and I can't see her ever talking to him like that. And so like the idea here is that it's another situation where the character of Picard is kind of like denigrated by a strong female character at the expense of believability. Because we had the, Admiral Hubris in the first season kind of dressing down Picard. Now we got Raffi doing it. And I think that there was also the return of the JL thing in this episode.
We talked about that.
So I just want to go around the panel. Vader, what did you think of this situation? Do you think it was believable, or do you think it just made the show terrible?
The whole Raffi dressing him down thing?
Yeah.
Are you talking about when she was upset about Eleanor's death?
Yeah, because basically Picard as an admiral was putting the mission first, and Raffi is like, let the world burn. I just want to save Eleanor.
I already actually touched on that a little bit, but yeah, I think it was completely over the top and overacted and kind of overwritten. It was unnecessary, and I think it was completely disrespectful to Picard's character. And I'm not a Raffi fan, and I thought it was just completely over the top for what they were trying to do. So,
Michael, what did you think?
Well, I agree that it was overacted and overwritten, but I would say this much is that it was, for considering that Raffi and Picard have a personal history. Yes, you are a crazy little dog. I would also compare it to some of the moments that Dr. Crusher and Picard have had. That any character that has a personal history and would see.
So do you think they banged? Because I like Picard and Crusher used to bang. So you
it was implied.
There's no evidence that Picard and Crusher used to bang.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there was. Wasn't there?
They had the hots for each other.
They had the hots for each other, but there's no evidence that they banged.
Yeah, I actually don't think they did bang.
Yeah, I don't think they ever banged. But anyway,
they were married in the last episode.
Now,
I'm
talking about during TNG, though.
Now, guys, can we imagine if like Raffi was Beverly Crusher and Eleanor was Wesley, and this situation happened
and
where
Beverly Crusher and Picard was saying we've got to do the mission. Dr. Crusher would be just as upset as Raffi. And so and given that, I didn't have like a problem with the way that scene played out, even though yes, it was a bit overacted and overplayed. I think that was simply a grieving person dealing with a situation, and Picard saying we've got to put the mission first. Right. And I could see that playing out in a million different ways. But that you have a leader saying, buck it up, we've got to do this first. And then you have a person who's also dealing with a strong emotional bond saying, heck no, I've got more.
Real quick. From Midnight's Edge. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Good to see you here. Appreciate you checking us out. Yeah. Brian, what did you think of the whole Raffi thing?
So I get where you're coming from, Trekker. If it was one of my kids, I always say this, like I'll be a villain in a heartbeat. When it comes to my kids, I'll burn the world down if it buys them a single day. I'd be the bad guy in any story when it came to protecting my kids. But, and I understand that part of it, but I also don't. I think if that's how it was written, fine. But I feel like at the very least, the actress really overacted the crap out of it.
What Digital's saying right there is what I've been like.
Right. Well, that's why I said it was overplayed.
Well, I think my point in saying, imagine if that was Crusher and Wesley, the emotional resonance of that scene would have been, appropriate.
Justified. Yeah. But this made no sense because we have as an audience, backstory as to why she gives so many fucks about this kid. You know what I mean? So it's just like for me, I'm not invested, and instead all I'm seeing is somebody yell at one of my childhood heroes and dress him down and make him look like a weak old man, which sucks.
Yeah. Also, he got shot in the shoulder, so I'm not sure how that kills a guy.
Well, maybe Romulans have their organs in a different spot or something.
Well, to be fair, let me point this out because it reminds me actually of an episode in Enterprise, the Enar, in which a Andorian is shot in the shoulder by a phaser that was set to kill, and it did kill her, but it took a day or two. So apparently, if a weapon is set to kill, it'll vaporize you if it hits you center mass, but if it hits you like in a limb, it's like what you would call a flesh wound. It'll kill you, but it takes a while.
Okay.
Again, set
And
up
so
and
this
payoff
is there is
important.
precedent for what we saw in this
Okay.
episode.
Well,
I don't-
as
I
a
don't
writer, they should have kind of like elaborated on the Confederation's weapons and how they work, if
Right.
that's the case. Professor Sean, what did you think of Raffi's big meltdown?
It was just another way to try to infuse drama into something where none exists. I mean, all it was a hyped up reaction to something. There's still a military like protocol as to how you deal with stuff like this. And even if it was Wesley and Crusher had done it, she wouldn't have done it that way. She probably just would have given them the silent treatment and walked out. I just can't believe that, you know, and somebody in the chat made a good comment, which was, you know, the biggest problem with this scene is that nobody believes that Eleanor's dead.
Right.
You know, he's not going to stay dead. And, you know, that's a good point. I think it was just all of the drama was forced. It's not organic. It's not coming from a place that's genuinely believable from these characters' perspectives, because they don't have any character. They're all just empty.
Well, I agree. We know that Eleanor's coming back. That is
exactly.
a problem.
You know, but they're just empty people acting the way the writer's room is filled with people who are of the new mindset, which is if somebody disagrees with you or if you're angry at somebody, you cancel them, you yell at them, you stomp your feet, you scream, you know, and you don't let them talk. And that's kind of where they're coming from. That's how you address problems to people in this writer's room. And that's, you know, that I see it all the time.
1 second. Dennis Wright, thank you so much for the 99-cent super sticker, man. We appreciate you. Thank
A little
you.
bit
Thanks
of
again.
salt thrown on there.
Little salt. Yep, little salt.
So, Danny, what are your thoughts on Raffi's meltdown? Because, you know, the fact that she even said, can we bring Eleanor back, really undercut the resonance of the scene. Because I think it'd be ballsy if they just left him dead and didn't bring him back.
Yeah.
Because he's a shitty character, but, you know, also, like, it would be ballsy. So what do you think, Danny?
Well, I got a question. Has anybody on this panel ever served in the military?
I have.
I have.
Okay, so let me ask you something. If you talk to your commanding officer about, like she did, in front of other officers about a decision that was clearly, you know, the correct one for him to make, even though it was painful, like, how do you think
My
that would
first
have
sergeant would have beat the shit out of me in
Yeah.
front of everyone.
Yeah. And how did old man Picard take it? He looked like a wounded puppy.
Well, he's
So
also like 90. He can't
but
beat
still.
shit out of anyone.
he doesn't have to.
Well,
do shit, he
but
just,
you're,
like, you
you're
know.
trained with a protocol, and that
Yeah.
mindset gets drilled into you. You do not. You just wouldn't. It's just one of these things where
Right.
you have to be in the military to understand.
I
what-
understand.
Right, and
the
that's a
reaction.
problem
I just think,
with-
I think it was written right. I think what Salty Trigger said was right. I think the actress overplayed it, and
Yeah.
it became
Yeah.
crazy.
And I also think this is a problem starting with the Berman era of Trek. They understood it in TOS because, you know, if you notice that in the original series, they kind of understood the military protocol a lot better than in the Berman era TNG era of Trek, where in
They
TNG,
really implement. Or sorry, go ahead.
well, because in TNG, you would have people like Dr. Crusher argue with Picard in a way that was extremely unprofessional. And and you know, in the TOS era, Kirk would shut that down. And he would say, no, you know, this is what we are doing. And you would see, even with his friends, he would say, no, this is what's going. And they would be like, yes, sir. And that would be the end of the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
It was modeled on the Navy. It wasn't modeled on.
Yeah.
Well, that was
in
more in,
TNG, people would continue the conversation, you know, and that's not how it worked.
I mean, Riker would have like expressed his dissatisfaction, but he would have done it in Picard's ready
The
room
ready room,
in front
yes.
of everybody.
Right.
And you know, Worf would have just killed her where she stood. So,
Right. But look at episodes like Chain of Command where Riker was straight up insubordinate and got away with it.
Is that the one where he was like, "Shut up," as in, you know, close your mouth and don't
That's
speak.
when
Quit talking.
No, that was
Captain-
Future Imperfect. Yeah.
that's when Captain
okay.
What's His Face took over command, and when there are four lights when
Okay, yeah.
There are 4 lights.
Yeah, but the other captain, I always forget his name.
Jellicoe?
Jellicoe, yeah, Captain
RoboCop,
Jellicoe
yeah.
took over, and Riker was straight up insubordinate.
Yeah.
He was a complete douche, and completely got away with it.
Yeah.
You know, and if that were a real military ship, Riker would have ended up in the brig.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at Burnham and how she treated all of her captains.
Yeah, Burnham would have ended up in. Burnham was convicted of mutiny. Granted, it was the wrong charge, but she would have been. She was convicted of mutiny, and then it's like, oh, but golly gee, you helped us out, so all is forgiven. And by the way, here have a starship. Why not? You know.
All right, guys. So one of the big things with the Kurtzman era Star Trek has been the injection of far left-leaning politics into the narrative to the point where it's alienating like a good portion of the fan base. I have a clip from a Red Letter Media review of Picard season 1. It's about 6 minutes long. It's a little long, but I think it's very relevant to what we're going to be talking about next, which is Stacey Abrams' appearance on Star Trek Discovery. We're going to watch this. We're going to watch this clip. It's about 6 minutes long, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Discovery and some of the injection of politics into modern Trek. Okay, so here we go.
America.
Star Trek has always done political analogies.
Yes, let's talk about that.
But they have done it in a way that, oh God. They did it in a way where you still had your optimistic future. I always love that optimistic future about Star Trek. I always have. My favorite fucking moment in Star Trek. I don't know if I've told. We've done like 5 of these Star Trek reviews. Stop me if I've talked about this before. But the Abraham Lincoln space episode, as corny as that is, but you have Abraham Lincoln on the bridge of the Enterprise, and he uses an outdated, offensive term.
What a charming negress.
To Uhura.
To Uhura, and Lincoln, even fake Space Lincoln, being a kind man, looks to Uhura and apologizes.
Oh, forgive me, my dear. I know that in my time, some use that term as a description of property.
And Uhura is utterly confused by this for a moment. And then she realizes what happened and she laughs. And it's a beautiful fucking moment because the Federation, humanity is so good in the future. Racism is so dead, she doesn't even know to be offended by that.
The foolishness of my century had me apologizing where no offense was given.
We've each learned to be delighted with what we are.
And it's such a thing of the past that it's forgotten.
It's completely forgotten about. It's this wonderful, bright vision of a humanity that made it. It's something we can look forward to. It's inspiring to me. And now we're coming along, and there are a bunch of fucking xenophobes and racists, and fuck that. Fuck that. Stop shitting on Star Trek, man.
This is how you tell good sci-fi, Rich. You have a reflection of today's hostile, divisive political environment that we're in. And it's sci-fi writers that are a little too full of themselves. And sci-fi writers I put in quotation marks. Gene Roddenberry, he was a visionary. He had this idea like you just described very eloquently.
Yeah.
And that is no more. That died after he died. It started to crumble slowly. I don't know. Did it start with Deep Space Nine being a little too gritty?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Deep Space Nine was a good show. But I never wanted Deep Space Nine to become the new normal. You know? Okay, they did their cynical, dark show. That was good. Now let's get back to it. And no, it just devolved into action schlock.
Well, I mean, Voyager maintained the spirit for the most part.
For the most part. But you had the next-gen movies going on during that. And the next-gen movies were very much in the dumb, we only care about action vein.
Yeah. I wish they never made the next-gen movies.
Yeah.
I wish it just ended there.
All right, guys. So I felt like that was a very eloquent kind of like takedown of the politics that have been kind of permeating Star Trek recently. And it was interesting because I put out a tweet this morning talking about the reveal that, in the finale of Star Trek Discovery Season 4, we had Stacey Abrams, the politician from Georgia, come out as the president of the United Earth. And, in the whatever century, 1,000 years in the future. And this triggered a lot of people who don't agree with her politics as basically Star Trek endorsing this type of politics. And I feel like in previous iterations of Star Trek, yeah, there's political allegory and stuff in there, but it was something where like it kind of exalted the commonalities of humanity, that stuff that would bring us together, so that no matter what your political beliefs are, you could enjoy the show. And it feels like more and more Star Trek, because of the leadership of Alex Kurtzman and the writers that are involved in it and stuff like that, is alienating a good half, if not more, of their audience by basically planting a flag in the sand and saying, hey, this is what we believe. These are the politics that we endorse. And if you don't like it, this isn't for you. And so, with the season finale of Discovery coming along this week and basically kind of like doing that, I felt like it was relevant to talk about. Now, we don't get political here on the Salty Nerd Show, and we certainly don't want to say like anyone's beliefs are wrong or bad or whatever. But we do want to point out how damaging it can be to a fan base when one side gets precedence over another, or when they even touch on the subject. So Matt Bader 74, what were your thoughts about the season finale for Star Trek Discovery and Stacey Abrams being the president of Earth?
My view of the entire show is just that it's just crap. I can't stand it. It's just the worst. I'm not going to get too deep into it though. As far as Stacey Abrams goes, yeah, it's a little off-putting, right? I mean, if they had put Donald Trump Jr. in as the president of
United Earth,
the entire internet would be losing its collective mind. Right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Imagine if it was Trump Jr.
So for them to put a divisive figure like Stacey Abrams in there, it's just the same thing, and I do feel like they're alienating a large portion of the audience. Star Trek has conservative and right-thinking Republican fans. I'm one of them. I will say that out right now. I'm a conservative. But I've always loved Star Trek, regardless of people thinking maybe I shouldn't because of who I vote for. But you know what? Screw you. I enjoy Star Trek, and I don't need I don't need that stuff inserted into my Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? It's a big world. We all can live in it together. We can all have a civil discourse. But for them to, especially in this day and age, to when everything is so divisive, I mean, there's no civil discourse with anything anymore. And for them to do something like this, it's very much a I don't know.
F you to a certain part of the fan base.
It really turns me off. I really dislike it. And
I don't even know what you guys are talking about because I haven't been. I gave up on Discovery.
I don't know. I didn't even know who Stacey Abrams was, but I felt like it was more like a cell phone because isn't this like the dystopian future? Right. I mean, listen.
It can be. So I want to get to Michael on this, but what Rich Evans said about like a post-political future, in the sense where you had Abraham Lincoln making these like references, and the Star Trek people didn't get them because they're so far past that part. I feel like if they had cast a woman like Octavia Spencer to play that role, like there wouldn't be any controversy whatsoever. It'd just be like a cool cameo from a well-known actress. But by casting Stacey Abrams, they're specifically saying they're specifically endorsing her politics for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
So, Michael, I know you watched this. What was your take on it?
Well, I will tell you that I didn't know any. I found out that Stacey Abrams was a politician like 3 days after I watched the episode.
Same here, yeah.
I didn't know she was a politician. I don't care about the fact that she's a politician. To me, it's just some politician that wanted to get a cameo on the show and got a cameo on the show.
Who's that guy that's a senator? He's in all those movies. He was like in Batman, The Dark Knight, and he always plays a senator. Like
Fred Thompson.
Okay, yeah.
So the fact that she's in it, I don't care. There are lots of politicians that have had cameos in various movies and TV shows, and and you know what? I personally do not care. And does that mean that the show endorses her specific agenda? No, it just means that they gave her a cameo on the show. It does not mean that the show endorses her political platform.
Well, if you read what the actors said about her being on the show, it's very obvious.
I don't care what she said, because you know what? Actors say all sorts of crap. Patrick Stewart said that the first season of Picard was all about Brexit. Please tell me how the first season of Picard was all about Brexit, because it wasn't.
I'll tell you how. Because the giant
tentacle monsters are about Brexit.
Space monster.
Yeah.
That was the European Union.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, okay. Is that it?
Right.
Yeah.
They wanted to take over, and they were like, no, you stay over on your side. You can't come over here.
Yeah. So no, I'm sorry.
Is it about Brexit? Jesus Christ.
So no, it's not. I'm sorry, but what actors say means nothing to me.
It wasn't just the actors; it was the production people as well.
Right, but production people say crap all
I'm actually
day
surprised that they didn't get Hillary Clinton to play that role.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious.
And that would have been actually hilarious. Would have been great is if they got like Hillary Clinton to be the president and Donald Trump to be the vice president. That would have been freaking awesome.
Think about this. Hillary Clinton, but she's all
Trump would never
out.
be vice president to Hillary.
It's the original Hillary Clinton, and she's finally president. 97 years into the future. She has Borg implants. She's like, it's time for her.
Yeah. Now, and let me, and I'll put my cards on the table just like Matt Vader. I am politically something of a libertarian, but I'll tell you, on some issues, I'm more conservative than the most conservative Republican. On other issues, I'm more liberal than the most liberal Democrat. And so
in the same boat,
I will offend you no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. And so that's just where I'm at.
So like you, Michael, I too am a libertarian, and I kind of call myself a conservatarian because on fiscal policy I'm very conservative. But the idea here that I think the issue isn't so much like, okay, Star Trek is endorsing this political figure. It's more that, okay, they're not afraid to piss off most of their fan base. Because I know for me, like, I started watching Discovery season 4. I'm 3 episodes in, and now like I don't want to finish it because of this cameo. Because I'm like, I don't want to get sucked into that tribalism, that politics and stuff like that. I just don't want to. I don't want to support a show that does that.
So Stacey Abrams is a state representative from Georgia. How many people know
Stacey Abrams was almost the vice president of the United States?
Yeah, she was almost vice president, and she's the front runner right now for the next Democratic candidate for president.
Well,
oh Christ.
That's what everyone's talking about. But I think Trigger's right. It doesn't really matter who they put in there.
And she's also been
too.
She's also been courting Hollywood very hardcore. Like this isn't the only cameo she's done in big name stuff. In fact, she got nominated for an Oscar for her appearance in an animated cartoon. And so like Hollywood is kind of coalescing behind her to push her as like the next big Democratic candidate.
This is a brilliant move on her part because I had no idea who she was.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know who she is. I still don't care.
And now we're talking about her.
I got to dip in
I'm something of a libertarian too, but I also think politics are super boring, and the only thing I really care about is freedom of speech. Everything else, you do whatever you want to do. But
the funny thing about Stacey Abrams is that she lost her gubernatorial bid in Georgia by like 60,000 votes, but she never conceded, and to this day she still insists that she won. And
she's Trump.
and that that she's the legitimate governor of Georgia.
I won. It was huge. They're trying to steal the Georgia.
I just wanted
to.
I just wanted to throw this one thing in before I leave, guys. I think it would have been. I haven't seen the episode. I don't know if I ever will. I don't know how they used her. I can.
No, it's a cameo.
Yeah,
but I think it would have been. Tell me what you guys think. I think it would have been a lot funnier if they had tricked her, like they tricked Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes, where he basically was the leader of the NRA at the time, and they tricked him into giving this anti-gun speech. You know what I mean? I think it would have been funny if they'd have done snuck something like that in, just to kind of offset the heat or the blowback, that's pissing everybody off. But they're just not that intelligent.
We should have her holding a jar with Biden's head in it as the vice president.
Danny, before you go, we wanted to touch on the announcement that they have cast a young Kirk in Strange New Worlds season 2, and it's being played by the guy from the Vampire Diaries.
Woohoo.
And there's rumors that he's also bisexual and hits on Spock when he first meets him. So I wanted to get your take on that. Since you're looking at forward to the show.
Yeah. Well.
Looking at Danny, I think Danny's going to hit on Spock.
Yeah, no. I talked about this a lot yesterday. Actually, I hate it. It's real. I was really looking forward to Strange New Worlds. Thankfully, this Kirk wannabe is not going to be in it until season 2.
Guys, this is unfounded, by the way.
He's totally miscast.
We just spent a bunch of time researching this, and that was a rumor started on Reddit that is just making its way onto Twitter. It's not
what about
real.
The bisexual? Okay,
no one said he's going to be bisexual or gay. No actual person attached to the show said that.
That's the least of my problems with this dude. Really, I mean, I just every time it sucks, man. Every time New Trek sprinkles a little hope in my life, they dump a bunch of fucking salt on it.
What's wrong
the
with
next
this guy
day
as
or
Kirk?
something? It's just like, oh, okay, well,
yeah, he looks better than Chris Pine.
To me, what's the problem?
I really do not like the casting, and I got nothing against the actor. I don't even know the actor. He just doesn't. What happened to everybody?
We're here.
Your internet's just chopping up, Danny.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's big internet. They're shutting them down, everybody.
They're shutting them down. Yeah, it's a conspiracy.
Look, I think the casting.
Did I lose my internet?
I think he actually looks like Kirk.
You're still here. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
I don't think he can, guys.
Play the WWE intro music. He'll come back.
Say his name 5 times.
John, so this is for all internet users out there. Everyone who's ever struggled with their internet. Brian,
there he goes.
Brian, you said you did a lot of research into this. Why don't you fill us in on the research for the casting?
Yeah, listen, I don't want to dunk my video that we're putting out either tonight or Monday morning because I've been working. I was actually working on it before joining the show. But on our Prime channel, we're working on a massive video about that where we researched every single bit of news we could. Went back, saw the cast photos, traced all the rumors, and even did the timeline math on how they can inject Kirk into Strange New Worlds without messing with canon. And I gotta be honest, it's totally possible, completely possible to inject Kirk into Strange New Worlds without messing with canon. I'm not saying they're not going to mess with canon. I'm saying they can write it in a way that works with Kirk in the show without hurting existing canon. And all the bi, gay, all those weird rumors, those weren't part of the cast.
Those are completely erroneous.
Completely erroneous. It came from some guy on Reddit and it got spread like wildfire. Someone actually faked a tweet and it just went crazy from there.
Real quick before we get deeper into it, Danny, I know you got to go, so I wanted to give you the last words on the casting stuff.
Okay, yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't know what happened with my internet a second ago. I think he's how did Gary put it? He looks like a pencil neck geek. He doesn't look like Kirk. He's I wish they wouldn't. They didn't need to touch Kirk.
Define pencil neck geek for me.
Look at his neck. His neck is like if they were to do a deep fake, let's say, and it might happen. Let's say that somebody deep fakes William Shatner's face from TOS onto this actor's body, it would not look right at all, because he doesn't have, like, at least Chris Pine had a similar build to Shatner. This dude doesn't have like the same bone structure. He's taller, he's like lankier, you know. It just doesn't work for me. And he doesn't ooze the, you know, like something I was saying the other day is like, Kirk oozes machismo. You know what I mean? That's why he gets to bang all the space chicks and the furry
you haven't
chicks.
seen this
and all
guy
that.
on TV, bro. You gotta watch this. I don't even like the series, but he is the king of machismo.
Yeah, Vampire Diaries. He was very he was a leading man.
I don't know anything
maybe
about
we'll
this
macho
character.
man, bro.
We'll see then. I just, all I know is I wish I'd have saved this news for
So-
later.
Coming
or
from the
something.
guy that's
So
wearing that mustache.
Although
what you're saying-
I agree, they should have saved the news till after, at very least, after season 1 premiered.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do think it's a bit much to release that this early, but
Well, do you think that means Anson Mount's not going to be returning for season 2? Is the ship
I
gonna go
hope
to
not.
Kirk?
I don't want to get just a straight up TOS reboot this early.
No, we're not. Yeah.
No.
This is what's probably going to happen. According to what is canon, there's an actual book that talks about Kirk's life before Enterprise, and he was the captain of another ship before Enterprise. And there's very little information about that time. There's nothing to say that he can't interact in some way with the Enterprise cast prior to becoming the captain of Enterprise.
They released that this is going to be Kirk as a lieutenant, though, right? This is not a captain.
No, he's wearing a captain's uniform, so it has to be a captain.
In that one image they
image.
released, he is wearing captain's bars on his shirt. But they could. I mean, there's a few ways they could go with it. I mean, they could, if they want to, have this be the transition to Kirk taking over the Enterprise. They could have it be that he takes over another ship. Keep in mind that while there is extra canonical resources that show that Kirk had another ship, as far as the way that actual canon works, all we really know is that Kirk took over the Enterprise from Pike. That's all that's actual
That's all we really
canon.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And-
maybe the end of season 1 will be, you know, Pike, you know, going off into the cage or whatever, and, you know, filling in the gaps of how Kirk came to be. Or
Right.
whatever,
So for
the
all we
captain.
know, at the beginning of season 2, Kirk takes over, or sometime in season 2, Kirk takes over.
And you know what's to say that they don't reboot TOS, but instead talk about what happens after that, the TOS 3 seasons
Right. Or before.
or before, right?
You know, so and by the way, I am and I've said this before, I am completely down with that. And if they do this, they need to just say, yes, this is a straight up reboot of Trek. You know, stop with the pussyfooting around. This is the Prime Universe crap. Just say, yes, this is a straight up reboot of Trek.
Real quick,
or
I got to interrupt here for a second.
Yeah, sorry.
Because Danny has to go. Danny,
I'm sorry, Danny. I didn't mean to.
Where
That's
can
fine.
people find out more about you and your Commissioner Gordon look?
Okay, so yeah, so the
Yeah,
whole
that's
commission-
what it is.
It's funny that he said that. So yeah, so
You're going to be standing on the roof?
this charity here, hold up, right here, is the Las Vegas Cosplayers Alliance. I recently accepted a position as their director of marketing, basically doing the exact same thing I did for a previous charity for about 8 years. And what we do is we visit children in all types of different situations, whether it be in hospitals, cancer treatment facilities, homeless shelters, abuse shelters, grief counseling centers, go to kids at schools and read to them. Basically anything, in any facility that reaches out saying, hey, we need characters of any kind. It's not just comic books. I mean, like, you know, stuff. And that's the thing that I like about it, because it's gotten me involved more. So I actually cosplayed as Mankind, which Vader, I showed to Vader. I cosplay as the original series Captain Kirk. I do Commissioner Gordon to Batman. And we have a charity event tonight from 5 to 10, and I'll be participating in that. And you can learn more about that at cosplayersalliance.org, and it's spelled CAUSE, like, you know, for a good cause, cosplayersalliance.org.
Awesome.
And then as far as me personally, right there at Dork Knight LV, that's for everything. I'm back on before the charity, I had to get back on Facebook, unfortunately. So I'm back on Facebook. That's the handle. It's the same for Twitter and Instagram. And thank you, Matt, for everything. I love and appreciate all you guys. Sean, it's finally cool to see you, like talk to you in person, because I've watched you on the Thursday show a few times. Brian, I'll hit you up later. Michael, you keep doing the Lord's work, because my mom loves you and she keeps.
When are you going to come back to Jeopardy, man?
Look, here's the thing. You guys, I stomped the mud hole.
Exactly, but you know what? You can't stomp the one time and then you being afraid to come back. You know, and
I ain't
defend
afraid.
your title.
I just felt like it wasn't fair. I mean, I'd love to come. Okay, yeah, okay, I'll come back.
Yeah, well, then come back. That's the whole point.
All right. On part of that. So Danny, thanks for coming on. See you next Saturday. All right, so let's get back to the Kirk announcement. I want to know from you guys: did they really need to bring Kirk in? Like, couldn't they have given like a couple of seasons just to Pike all by himself?
Maybe they had problems with Anson Mount. Maybe they can only keep Anson Mount for a year.
I feel like they're really jumping the shark here already. You know, it's like let us watch season 1.
Yeah,
you know, we all know Pike's
they didn't want
the best part of Discovery ever in all 4 seasons was the few episodes that the Pike was in. You know, that I mean, and that's what spawned this show.
Yeah, Beta, this is actually not on the studio though. This announcement was forced because somebody got onto the set during shooting and was taking TikTok videos of.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that, but
yeah,
still, you know.
Taking
so
TikTok
what you're saying is it could just be like a cameo of him showing up on the view screen or something, right?
Right. Everyone was trying to figure out what he is. He's in a captain's uniform, trying to figure out what he is. And there was so much evidence that eventually would have gotten around to Kirk that instead of allowing it to come out on their own, I think they just decided to jump the gun,
right?
And
prevent the rumor mill from turning into a nightmare.
Have they filmed 2 seasons of?
They're in the middle of filming season 2 right now.
Wow. Okay. So yeah.
So they're filming back to back.
It could literally be a cameo, and everybody's just freaking out.
I think a lot of these shows are doing back to back seasons because of the COVID break, where there was no production going on, so they're all behind where they should be.
Right.
Yeah. I know that Picard filmed season 3 back to back with season 2.
Yep.
So like Kurtzman's really cracking the whip on getting these things going.
You know what I miss? 24 episode seasons.
Me too.
So do I. Oh my God.
But we'd be accused of being old and not knowing how to watch TV anymore.
We're never going to get stupid streaming has made it set. Advertisers, subscribers, so
I mean, really, I mean, as far as the casting, I just have to see the guy. I've never seen him actually do anything. I'm not familiar with this actor because I didn't watch the vampire show that you'd mentioned. I don't know. I mean, you know, the problem with that character is that he was written for a particular time, and I mean, Kirk was based on Horatio Hornblower. Okay. I'm a fan of that character. I've read the book. But that era doesn't exist anymore. And it's like when they had Chris Pine running around like a chicken with his head cut off, you know, and doing all these goofy things and always disobeying orders and everything. They completely missed the mark with Kirk when it came to Chris Pine. And I don't see that they're going to do anything different this time. There's still going to be lots of breakdown in the chain of command. There's going to be they're going to promote him early in order to get the send off. They're going to you're not dealing with people that understand science, military protocol, good storytelling, drama, or anything else. And I think that it's just going to be another dumpster fire on a train heading towards another train carrying flaming dumpsters. I mean, it's yeah, really that's what it's going to be. It's I don't hold any hope for any of this. And I wanted to mention too, though, because we were talking about the injection of politics into Trek. Trek has always done it, but they've always been able to step back and ask the larger question.
Right.
Star Trek was always about asking the larger question rather than directly infusing a current event into an episode and telling you what opinion you should have. That's what they're doing now. They don't.
It harkens back to me to when we were getting the pronoun lecture in Discovery about proper usage of how to address trans people. That kind of shit just
it's not.
It drives me out of my mind.
Yeah.
And when I see it, it just makes me just say, okay, done. I'm done with you. I don't want to see it anymore.
A lot of the times it's a trap in order to make someone able to attack you for not saying or doing the right thing or whatever. And this guy is a pencil neck. Yes. I agree. I mean, but that's the thing. It looks fine and whatever, but I just know what they're doing is they're not going to be asking the big questions, and they're going to be injecting direct politics from a particular perspective. Star Trek always had the ability to step back and say, okay, let's present two sides of it and have the audience pull their loyalties or their beliefs in two different.
And I think everyone on this panel could say that even if they agreed with the politics that were being injected into the show, it's the wrong choice to make.
Yes.
It's just something where it's like, instead of dividing the fan base based off of political tribes, why not just have good science fiction that everyone can enjoy and bring a fan base together regardless of their political beliefs?
Sure. But what does it have to do with the new Kirk, man? I don't know how we got back to politics.
I don't know.
We're talking about the new Kirk.
I just wanted to comment on that because I was thinking about it. But as far as the new Kirk, I don't think he's going to. In fact, no, I know he's not going to be done right. He's not going to do
Brian, let's go back to your research. We never finished with that. So, you made it clear that the bisexual thing was just a rumor, which is great. What else have you learned?
We've learned that, the reason it was released was because they were trying to get ahead of the leaked videos on TikTok or whatever. There is nothing that we know about this character other than that actor is playing Kirk in season 2 at some point. We don't know that he's part of season 2 as a recurring character, that he's part of one episode, that he's a cameo, that there's a cool moment where he meets Spock for the first time, or maybe Anson Mount is immobilized in some way and he has to sit in the Enterprise chair for the first time as the ranking officer for one single episode. And it might be, and people like him, maybe it sets up, the second 5-year mission 3 or 4 years from now or something. That is all we know. We don't actually know that he's in anything more than a handful of scenes in Picard season 2.
Heck, he could be in one scene for all we know.
He can be in one scene.
Could be just a fun little fan service moment.
Oh, that's Captain Kirk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
he could be on the view screen on the Farragut talking to him.
Yeah. So
he's definitely interacting with the Soon character at some point. But that's all we know.
All right.
So if you guys remember, the casting of Spock in Discovery season 2 was also a big deal.
Right.
Like nobody wanted to bring Spock back.
Right. And I have to say that Ethan Peck, while a very different Spock than, say, Zachary Quinto, I really liked him. I was surprised. And so, and I think that what I liked about Ethan Peck's Spock was not necessarily that I think he channels Leonard Nimoy or anything, because he clearly doesn't. But I liked the way that he interacted with Michael Burnham, of all things. Because unlike other characters on Discovery, he actually stood up to Michael Burnham.
That's true.
And when he bickered with Michael Burnham, it felt like a brother and sister arguing. And it felt genuine. For the first time, he humanized Michael Burnham.
I hated that they're brother and sister. And I like Ethan Peck in Ethan Peck's way, I do not like him as much as like any other Spock, but I think he's good enough to play the character. And I think that the version of Spock we're going to get in Strange New Worlds is going to be vastly different than the one we got in Discovery.
That I'm concerned about, and we'll see what happens. Because I will tell you that the Spock we got in that stupid short trek where he was singing in the turbo shaft, I was like, oh no.
We hope we don't get that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll also say that the actor didn't really seem to like any of the fans at the Star Trek convention I saw.
He
him
didn't.
at.
He was so rude to me. He was so rude to me. While Anson Mount was the nicest guy I've ever met at those things, that this guy literally asked me why I was there when I peeked around the corner. He did not. He was hiding from the fans.
Yeah, he had like privacy screens up around.
Right.
Signing
Yeah,
autographs.
the president,
The
dude,
Spock
chill out.
actor?
Yeah, the Spock actor.
Yeah.
Really?
The only actor there to have privacy screens.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he didn't.
It's
want
like, man,
people
this is what
looking
you're
at
here for. You're here to talk to us.
Yeah.
This, you know, dance, monkey. Do what you're supposed to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. That's what they're supposed to do, and a lot of them are very glad to do it.
Anson
And,
Mount was very
to be-
nice.
for somebody to be so pretentious as to like, I need, to be blocked off, and that's
Like you could literally walk up to Anson Mount at the convention, shake his hand, and get a picture with him, and he was like the coolest guy ever.
Yeah.
With this guy who played Spock, like you had to wait in line. You got up there, you got to talk to him for 2 seconds. He barely said any words to you. He was surrounded by privacy screens so that if you weren't paying, you couldn't see or interact with him. It was very strange.
Yeah, it was.
Very strange.
It was very
I
strange.
wonder who his
So-
agent is.
So real quick, guys, I want to go around the panel. What are your thoughts about the next episode of Picard? What do you think is going to happen? Any theories going around? Vader?
geez. I have no thoughts about it. There'll be more zany antics. Maybe we'll get to meet the Watcher. I'm sure.
Yeah, who do you think the Watcher is?
Oh yeah.
I think I don't know. I have no idea.
I know who it
we
is.
we have to do something with a Brent Spiner's soon character. I want to see more Q. We have to break Rios out of immigration jail. I'm sure we'll get preached at more about with all that stuff. And I don't know. I don't really care at this point. I just
They're breaking him out of immigration jail pretty quick, and
Yeah.
we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna see Q this next episode, but I think we will see him in the episode after this.
maybe we'll get to see Seven. Be friendly and smile a little bit and interact with children and go, "Can you keep a secret?" Okay, cool.
I
And,
actually think that was sort of cool. That was a good way of protecting the timeline right there.
Yeah.
Michael, do you have any theories on who the Watcher is?
Not on the Watcher. I mean, I know they keep showing that thing with the dude with the glowing eyes, so I assume that's the Watcher. But I'm curious to see where it goes. Unlike Matt, I think that it's not a complete dumpster fire. I think that the show has some potential. I'm still a little leery about the upcoming zany antics with the police car and stuff. But I'm sure that has to do with breaking Rios out of immigration jail. And so the sooner they get out of the past, the better for me, because I want to get back to that beautiful starship porn that they were showing in the first 2 episodes. Because man, that was some glorious starship porn. So hopefully we can get some more of that before this series is over.
Sean, you mentioned that you know who the Watcher is. Why
Well,
you
I
give us
don't
your
know,
theory?
but just because of the extreme lack of imagination on any of the writing staff idea, I think it's Guinan.
No.
No.
Because I mean, but only because that's probably the least imaginative place that they could go, and I have a feeling that they might use that to some degree. I mean, really, as far as where is it's
Maybe
going
it's the Guinan from the Nexus.
yeah, or something.
Ooh.
I mean, it's not going to be.
What you gonna say? I decide to age again.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Guinan, you guys.
It's either going to be that or it's going to be somebody we've never heard of before.
I think it's somebody we've never heard of before, because I think Guinan, I think that's her whole part in this series.
Well,
is what we
who
got.
was that?
That was
Who's
pointless.
that time traveler from Next Generation who was also Max Headroom?
Oh yeah. But he's not a
Oh,
watcher.
you know who the Watcher is? I just figured it out.
Okay.
It's Wesley doing his traveler bullshit.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
It's the
You know what?
pedophile
If
traveler that wanted to
Wesley
take
Crusher
Wesley
is
on a
in the
ride.
series, I'm walking. Yeah.
You know, it's the pedophile traveler that wanted to take Wesley with
I
him
know.
into the unknown.
It's
Yeah.
Wesley Crusher. He's the traveler.
It's I think Salty Trigger's right. It's a new character, and that's fine as long as they write
I
it
mean, it
correctly.
might be a new character, but the thing is that it's very unimaginative to use somebody like Guinan. But I mean, if Whoopi Goldberg, that's her only spot in the whole show, then
That's it.
it's really, it was completely pointless.
What more could they do with her? I mean, it's like, hey, how you doing, Count Picard? You want
Yeah.
a drink? You know, it's like that's.
Yeah, Jabba the
Remember,
Hutt,
she's-
basically.
She's shooting
Yeah.
a daily show every day.
Oh,
So-
Superami
Yeah, but, I mean,
Chewbacca.
I don't mean that they're going to
You know?
they're just going to introduce her and then get her out of there. But other than that, it'll be somebody that we don't, and whoever it's going to be, though, it's probably going to be somebody that we never heard of, and they're going to over exaggerate the importance of this person to try to get the audience on board the way that
Right.
you know, like they do with everything else.
I think it's probably an Organian, and their whole vibe is
Organian, you mean?
Oh, sorry,
Organian.
thank you. Organian.
Oregonian is a person from Oregon.
Yeah, I'm talking
That's
about
me.
the one in Star Trek. I think that their whole vibe is to watch and not interfere with
Yeah.
with it. I think
Which
that's
is a
exactly
Guinan
what it is.
character. She just observes and she points things out that are obvious. You
So
know,
It's
I,
not Guinan. It's not Guinan.
I
probably
think
not, but that's the least imaginative place they could go. And I'm thinking, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Put it that way. If
I
they
think
did
it's important to note here, Brian. You said that it's 10 episodes this season. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, so we're heading into episode 4. Episode 5 is going to be the midpoint of the season, and I'm wondering how long we're going to be in the past for. Do you think it's going to be 2 more episodes, 1 more episode? Is the rest of the season going to be in the past? What do you guys think?
If I had to guess, I would say they're going to be in the past for another 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
That long, really?
I think so.
I don't want them to be, but you're probably right.
Yeah, I think they're going to stay there.
You know, what I think would be cool is if they get out of the past in the next episode, but then we find out that the Borg Queen did something to manipulate them so that the future is even more jacked up.
Yeah. We have to see Girardi get assimilated.
I think
and
that
put a
they're
shroud
also
on.
going to go back even further in the past. Either it's going to be physically or via some kind of memory or something. We're going to see something even farther past than 2024.
But the production costs, though. I mean, the reason why they're doing this is they're saving an awful lot of money on production costs. So any set pieces or anything like that, that's one of the reasons why I say they're going to stay in the past for the rest of the season.
But like,
I
what
just
they
think it's
could do-
ironic that they can shoot in Los Angeles with no set, and the dystopian Los Angeles that they're visiting right now is exactly already set up.
Just go
That's
down
how
to
bad
Venice.
LA is.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
have you seen pictures of the train tracks in LA?
Oh, man,
You guys, I
brutal down
drove
there.
through LA 3 days ago. I
Yeah.
live 30 miles away. I drive through there.
Yeah, they have to
back and forth
clean
every
LA
day.
up to make it look like that. You know, It's
Bro,
like-
yeah, it was cleaner in the show than it is in real life.
Yeah.
LA is so bad, and I don't want to keep harping on this, but you drive through LA and there's trash. The middle divider of
Right.
the road is not a middle divider. It's just a trash. It's trash.
right, they have
in
to
the middle of
clean up
street.
the human feces and needles in order for the actors to be able to walk
Dude.
through the set.
There are entire street. You know, how there's some smaller streets that sort of intersect in LA, in like the fashion district. I don't know if you've ever been to LA, but these smaller streets, like 15th and like Alameda, they've completely been blocked off, and they're just homeless centers now. There used to be like 1 or 2 Skid Rows in LA. Now there's 400 Skid Rows in LA. It's nuts, dude. That entire downtown LA is an absolute train wreck. It looks like a third world country.
Oh, you should see Portland, Oregon.
Portland's really bad. I haven't been there yet, but I've heard.
Oh
my
man,
my mom lives
last
there.
time we went there, it's like every single street has a homeless camp.
Well, you
Your
know
mom
what's
lives there,
funny?
she said the same
What's funny is that this episode takes place in 2024, 2 years from now. How far away do you think we are from being as accurate as like they're portraying the future?
It's worse
Probably
now.
close.
Oh,
Probably
it's
close.
it's really close. And
The only difference is we haven't rounded them up into internment centers.
internments, yeah,
You know?
I think that's going to happen. Yeah.
You know, because, like, if you look at, you know, one thing they did in Portland, Oregon, which is insane, is that basically they did a city ordinance to prevent homeless people from being discriminated against. They made it so that you can't stop homeless people from pitching their tents. And so basically, if a homeless person pitches their tent in your front yard, there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh my God.
And so there's homeless tents everywhere. And like, you know, like if you're driving down the street and you just see tents everywhere.
Yeah,
It's insane.
Yeah, he's right. You guys have heard of, I'm sure everyone here has heard of Santa Monica, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful Santa Monica Pier,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, take a look at the latest Santa Monica, everybody.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm about to blow your mind. Ready?
Well, I know when I lived in LA, Santa Monica was basically called the People's Republic of Santa Monica, and the homelessness was rampant in my time.
Yeah.
This is the latest. This is the latest. This is taken a week ago. This is the latest. This guy is running.
That's what every street in Portland, Oregon looks like.
Yeah, it's nuts, bro. It is, the entire beach is covered in tents, bro. Oh God.
Star Trek, everybody.
Housing and gas is so expensive. Like people are just choosing to camp out. So
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Hey, you know, and I don't want to like crap on those poor people, but I think it's not their problem. It's not necessarily, no, some of them it definitely is their fault, but it's not necessarily all their fault. It's also how everything's being governed. It's being governed so poorly.
Right. The solution isn't let them do it.
Right. That's not the solution. Right.
Yeah.
The solution is not let that business go out of business because customers can't physically get into said business because of the homeless. That's not the answer.
I'm very happy that Star Trek Picard has decided to shine a light on the homeless problem in Los Angeles.
Hey, and they even shine the light on some of the problems we have when they, they show the president in the future. You know,
guys, like when Gavin Newsom was mayor of San Francisco, that was his solution. Now that he's governor of the state, it's spreading like statewide, like his approach to these issues. But again, let's get away from politics. So we've been talking about Star Trek. It's been great. I want to get your guys' final thoughts on episode 3 of Picard, where you think everything is going. And just to let everyone know that Strange New Worlds isn't set to premiere until May 5th, I believe. So we've got a little bit of a gap. Once Star Trek Picard ends, that's probably when Strange New Worlds is going to pick up.
I thought there was kind of like with Discovery, I thought there was a 3-week overlap.
From what I'm seeing, it just looks like Strange New Worlds is going to premiere at the beginning of March and go into July. And that's what the schedule is. They haven't announced a concrete date, I think, but that's what everyone's saying.
You know, all I know is that's at least another few months of us doing this show every Saturday. That's all I'm saying. USS Salty Nerd.
Yeah. Matt Vader 74, final thoughts, and where can people find you?
Oh, final thoughts. Here we go. We're trekking through these shows, right? That's the only way I can.
What was your overall take on Discovery season 4? You actually watched the whole thing.
God,
I watched
dude,
it too. Oh my God!
What a pile of shit that show. Yeah, bad. It's awful. It's just I don't even know how to describe it. Don't bother wasting your time. Don't go weave a basket or a straw hat or something. You'll be much more productive than wasting your time on Star Trek Discovery. It's just more virtue signaling and political inserts and giant ovary aliens from outside the galactic rim.
They did look like ovaries.
They did. It was ridiculous. You got Kelpians mating with Vulcans now, and that was an interesting little.
I want to see those kids so bad.
I do too. They're gonna be really ugly, dude.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
What else? Discovery. It's just Michael Burnham, just being Michael Burnham. It's. I don't know. There's so much just stupid hugging and carrying on, and everybody's affectionate for each other, and it's just I don't even know how to describe how bad this show is. It's just bad.
Feelings Trek.
They had a scene at the end where the bridge crew is literally hugging each other and jumping up and down, smiling and laughing. Did you catch that part, Brian? At the end? It was so bad. It was so bad because they didn't have anything else for them to do during the entire 10 episodes. What?
The poor Asian guy on the bridge looks like the only guy that doesn't want to be there every single time.
Yeah.
Every single time the camera goes to that actor, he looks like he doesn't want to be there. He's like, oh God, what did I sign up for?
I mean, we all think like Picard isn't good right now, but let me tell you something. Picard is masterpiece theater compared to Star Trek Discovery.
It's not the same show. They're completely different shows.
Absolute
god awful.
It's god awful. It really is. It's god awful. It doesn't deserve. I don't know. It's just bad. You can find me at MattVader74 on all the social media things, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. I'm out there. Just find me. And on saltynerdpodcast.com. There you go, Matthew.
All right, thanks. Michael, give us your final thoughts on Star Trek Discovery Season 4 and all that good stuff. And where can people find out more about you?
Well, first of all, Matt Vader's lying to you
No, I'm
because
not.
if he really felt that way, he wouldn't be cosplaying as Chris Pike from the upcoming Strange New Worlds. But
he stole my beard.
yeah, sure. So I think that Discovery, while yes, it has its flaws. Yes, all the bridge crew were hugging and crying at the end of the episode. Yes, Michael Burnham is an annoying character from beginning to end. Yes, the series has its issues. This was still Discovery's strongest season to date. And the show at least has a trajectory heading in the right direction. So I'm going to hope that season 5 is better than season 4 and that the show continues to improve. I'm not saying that the show was great. I'm saying that season 4 was better than season 3. And so that's not saying that it was the best series ever, but it was definitely a marked improvement. And the last couple of episodes were actually decent. And in fact, the second to last episode was a good episode, one of the better First Contact episodes in all of Trek. So, unfortunately, yes, this final episode, if you got rid of the everybody stand around and hug and cry stuff, it would have been a pretty good final episode, but they did decide to finish it off with everybody standing around hugging and crying for whatever. And so, but you cut that out and it would have been a pretty decent final episode as well.
It would have been nice if they left Book dead. That would have been interesting, right?
That would have been good, actually.
Yeah, they should have left. They should have left Book dead as well. That was kind of
no one's ever really
real
gone.
stakes.
Yeah.
I actually liked the last episode wasn't bad, but like I said on Twitter, you have to wade through the whole season to get there, which sucked.
Yeah. The problem is that it felt, in a 13 episode season, the fact that it felt like it was dragging was a real problem. That you should 13 episodes, it should feel brisk. And so
I'm just tired of a show where all the women are strong, all the men are weak and gay. And it's just, I've had enough of it. It's an awful effing show.
I understand.
It's a terrible show.
But I'm just saying that it also has improved, and I'm going to celebrate the improvements. So I think that Star Trek is moving in the right direction, even if it's moving slowly. And I think Picard is definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree.
Michael, where can people find out more?
They can find me at Salty Trekker here on YouTube. They can also find me at antitrekker.com. And I'm anti-Trekker over on Twitter, although I'm very rarely on Twitter because Twitter is where intellect goes to die.
Hey, I'm a blue check mark, so screw you. Brian, what are your final thoughts, and where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, Discovery, the last episode was actually pretty decent, aside from all the feelings, if you can get past that. Something my brother said in our review yesterday was hilarious. He was like, listen, every time I'm getting to like it, every time I'm starting to get into it, someone is having a conversation about the feelings. Every time I'm starting to enjoy myself, someone's got to stop and remind us that they're having a hard time. And it's just very difficult to wade through it to get to the good parts. And there was some good parts, But he's right. When Saru is like, "Hey, listen, I really got to talk to you, Michael, about my feelings with the Vulcan High Command lady," and like everyone's about to die. This is a bad time to talk about your feelings. And even at what point is it so ridiculous that even the damn ship needs to talk to the therapist about her
Dude,
feelings?
the whole show is about people talking about their freaking feelings.
So it's a
The
lot of
entire
mental
show.
health things in the show, and look, I agree that they're going in the right direction, but it's slow and it's laborious, and it was so hard to watch this season because finally they did get. You're right, one of the best first contact episodes of Star Trek, but there's so much garbage surrounding it that it's really hard to enjoy those moments. And while I liked the last episode, and I sort of liked the 10C, and when they killed Book. Man, Burnham had the most captain moment she's ever had in her life. She was like, "Okay, we still have a job to do," and she was distraught, but she did her job. It was working, but they brought Book back and they talked about their feelings some more, and it's reminded me every time I'm starting to like something, it reminds me what it actually is, and it takes me out of the moment.
Yep.
And that was Discovery. Every single time, I'm like, "Oh, it's getting there. Oh, this is working. I'm starting to like this character. Oh, but wait." I know we're all about to be disintegrated and billions of people are going to die. Let's talk about your feelings regarding the lost planet. How are you going to reach him? Because you can't just overtake him. You have to reach him intellectually. Oh, Jesus Christ. Take a phaser out and just handle it, please. And that's what Discovery was for me. And hopefully with the news that Discovery is going to an older format, which just came out yesterday, looks like they're going to be the new showrunner said that Discovery's new format next season is going to be episodic.
Oh, nice.
A return to a more old form of Star Trek now that the world the universe isn't constantly imploding. And the fact that they said that is actually pretty amazing. They said the next season is not the universe is going to explode. It's going to be a return to form and more episodic. And saying that is a very good sign. And this is the only Trek we really have right now. So please, at least, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like a battered wife. And I'm like, look, I just want you to love me. Okay. It's my fault. It's my fault. I want you to love me though.
Every single episode is going to start with an anomaly of the week.
Oh, so, shut up.
Whatever
that's what's going to happen.
That's my take on season 4. It's bad, but there's good moments of Trek there, surrounded by a lot of emotional stuff. I don't like the fact that they interjected any politicians or whatever. Although I didn't know who she was, so it didn't really bother me. And I think it was more of a self-own because the future sucks. So,
all right, where can they find you, Brian?
You can find me on youtube.com/thepopcastlive. I know I have another channel, and there's a bunch of subscribers over there, and that's great, and I love that you guys like that. But I need everyone to subscribe to the Popcast Live because we are this close to 1,000 subs, and my brother's mental health is deteriorating, and there's no one like Stamets to talk him off the ledge. We really need to get to 1,000 subs here because he doesn't have a ship to give him personal therapy.
Those first 1K subs is a real grind.
Oh, it's so hard.
Yeah. All right, Professor Sean, what are your final thoughts, and where can people find you?
Well, I mean, I can only speak on what I've seen of Picard because Discovery, I'm not even. I don't know, don't care. I've given up a long time ago. Picard, I'm out. I only started watching it because of you, Kadish. You said, yeah, give it a shot, and everything. So episode 1, I was like, oh, all right, it's familiar. Episode 2, episode 3, I'm done. And I might give it episode 4, maybe, but really, I don't have any hope. I think that.
And you're a hardcore Star Trek guy.
Yeah, I am, and it's going to be more of the same thing.
I love your hat, by the way, Sean.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, it's one of my favorites. But I really think that I don't see any real major course corrections going on. I think they're gonna throw out a couple of little things every once in a while, and then they're just gonna suck you right back down into the gutter. So, But other than that, I mean, I'll check out the Strange New Worlds and see where that
Sean,
goes.
Sean, it sounded rough for you. You need to talk about it, bro.
Talk about my feelings.
I know a ship computer that can really help.
Yeah, right.
Someone get Zora on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the difference between what do you think about that episode, what do you feel about that episode, and there's no thinking going on here. So, but as far as where people can reach me, I mean, I'm here with you guys every once in a while, and at the Colleges of the Nevada, where we actually make films. We don't talk about them, we make them. So.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you to our expert panel for joining us this Saturday. Tune in next Saturday for another great episode of Talking Star Trek on Salty Nerd Saturdays. We're going to be covering Picard episode 4. We're probably going to be talking about more Strange New World stuff. And if there are any controversies, we'll definitely be hitting those. Be sure to join the Salty Nerd Discord at saltynerddiscord.com. That'll give you the invite to our Discord. We have a lot of fun over there talking about this stuff with our fans and our patrons. And be sure to check out saltynerdsstore.com for those exclusive t-shirts as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and come back next Saturday, and we'll see you then.